Hey, welcome back. Today I had the pleasure of speaking with Blanca Rodriguez. She is a massage therapist and a holistic life coach in Florida. If you are interested in the physical therapeutic modalities such as massage therapy, yoga, chiropractics, this episode is for you. We also talk a little bit about mindfulness, a little bit about Blanca. She is the dynamic owner and CEO of Wounded Healer LLC. With over 20 years of experience as a licensed massage therapist and certified canine massage therapist, Blanca is dedicated to improving quality of life, one soul at a time. Her expertise extends to fitness instruction for individuals aged 55 and above, and she brings over 30 years of experience in Zumba and dance teaching. As an Amazon best-selling co-author and holistic life coach, Blanca's mission is to empower others through her multifaceted approach to wellness. Welcome to the Real Food Mental Health Podcast, where we explore the powerful connection between mental and physical health. My name is Cody Cox, a holistic nutritional psychotherapist, and I'm here to guide you on a journey to true wellness, mind, body, and spirit. If you're tired of quick fixes and want real solutions that address the root cause, you're in the right place. Let's get started on your path to lasting wellness. Welcome back to Real Food Mental Health with Cody Cox. Today I have Blanca Rodriguez. Welcome, Blanca.
Thank you so much for having me here, Cody. What a joy it is.
So tell us a little bit about your story. You were telling me that you have a little bit of some things to share about mental illness, particularly, but then also I want to hear more about your profession.
Yes, absolutely. When I was 8 years old, all the family, we moved from Puerto Rico back in the 70s. My father moved the whole family to New York City and search of the American dream. And unfortunately, he did conquer the American dream. He was a very abundant man. He had three different businesses. And in one fateful night in 1973, uh, and a robbery gone terribly wrong. He lost his life. And with that tragic circumstance going on, my mother, she declined into, she really drowned in a very deep depression that she basically never recovered from. She had chronic untreated mental illness for most of her entire life. It was the time in the 70s when speaking about mental illness was totally prohibited. It was taboo. Nobody will have an open conversation about mental illness, mental health, even more so mental health. I grew up around a family where there was a lot of treated and untreated mental illness, but the way that mental illnesses were treated back in that day was basically with horse tranquilizer, and that's what my uncles will call it. Oh, I'm having my horse tranquilizer, because they will become zombies when they will have these medications. So it will be
Mm,
to just numb them, and there was not ever a solution to their problem. There was not, like it is today, that you can still have a very productive life even if people are challenged with mental health. That was really not the case at all in those times. It was the age when if you had some kind of mental health issues, it either was hidden, or if it was exposed, that was basically the end of a productive life, because it will these people unfortunately will fall in the category of they were useless, to be honest with you. And fast forward all of these years later, my mother, she is 94 years old right now. She has advanced stages of dementia, and my mother did the best that she could with the few tools that she had to make it better for the family. But in the midst of her being so unstable mentally, it really took us to a very unstable lifestyle. We didn't know when she would have good moments, when she would have bad moments. My mother was a very, unfortunately, a very violent person. So my father died violently, and my mother became a very violent people. Her mental health took the best of her. So I could say that with the death of my father, in a way, I lost both parents, because my mother was a very different person before my father died, and then she became an entirely different person. So that absence, the physical absence of my father, and then my mother being emotionally absent, it was like a double loss, not only for me but for my two siblings as well. And growing up in an environment like that was really, really hard. Of course, it took a toll on me and my siblings, and me, definitely it took a toll of living in shame, low self-worth, low self-esteem. I was with living in a pattern of self-destruction entirely. But time passes, we do change, we do heal, put in the work in. Definitely the results are seen, but it wasn't without going through very dark seasons of loneliness, living in isolation, believing that I was not worth anybody's time or effort or support, because I grew up in such an isolated world where it was almost literally a jungle out there. It was I'm here to survive, and this I had to learn very quickly in a blink of an eye. It was life before my father's death and life after my father's death. And when he died, I had to jump into survival mode, and I didn't even understand what was that all about until it happened. And with those terrible circumstances that we grew up on, that I grew up on, definitely the lessons are learned. That is for
Mm.
sure. Fast forward many decades later, I am still here. I am very grateful for everything. I am very grateful for the lessons, because it gives me an understanding that the more informed we are about something, the better it is to understand. The more support we seek, the more support we will receive. And my message to everybody, including starting with myself, is don't do it alone. There's no need to do it alone, because the help will always be there if we only reach out and get it. If we only reach out and pick up those tools and actually use them, because the tools are always there available to us to use as well. So, yes, definitely we can know all the tools to make it better for ourselves, but if we don't use them consistently, then we will stay in the same slippery slope and not go anywhere. And I give the biggest example of this. Definitely, I go back to my poor mother, that she didn't know how to deal with her mental illness. It was profound. It lasted for a very long time. Most likely, it's her entire life. She was struggling with chronic mental illness, and it wasn't until she was put in an institution at almost 80 years old that she finally got the help that she so very much deserved and needed. But it wasn't until it went to an extreme that my poor mother was Baker Act and then into an institution. And I can tell you this, Cody, these are things that honestly, with the proper help, can be avoided.
Mhm.
There's so many other things that we can do to avoid getting to that extreme, but this was her story, and I know that she doesn't mind me telling her story, because I we know in our hearts that it can help others as well.
Yes, and you mentioned tools. As long as people are consistently applying them, they can make a huge difference in how
Hmm.
a person feels and the recovery. And you also mentioned that your mother finally got the help that she needed at the age of 80. What help was that? Was it medications? Was it therapy?
Well, when the time bomb, I called it a time bomb because it really was, finally imploded, she went into a very dark place. Thankfully she doesn't remember where she was, but she went into a dark place and she was put into an institution. And after her being in that institution, she was put into, of course, intensive therapy, and she is with medication, of course. In my mother's world, medication is the answer to everything. But in my understanding, working as a holistic life coach and doing everything holistically, East meets West, there's so many other tools that can really help anybody in this journey of healing, recovery, healing those wounds, childhood trauma. I come from a lot of childhood trauma, untreated childhood trauma, and it takes a village to get that help to heal those wounds. And the healing, to me, the healing, it takes a lifetime. I know, in my, at least in my story, I'm in this process for the rest of my life. The process never ends. It's very important for people to understand that this is not about I am cured from something and it'll never come back to me. No, the triggers can happen. Anything can happen that can trigger us, and it can take us back to a terrible memory of whatever the case may be. And it's about how are we going to deal with those triggers? How long are we going to allow those triggers to dominate us, or say to ourselves, I'm triggered, but I am safe. That was then. This is now. I'm in a safe space now. It's going to be okay. This too really does pass, and this too shall pass as well.
I like to teach a lot of mindfulness. And in that instruction that I give to my clients, I say 99% of the time you are safe and everything's okay.
Absolutely. Without a
And
doubt.
so often we feel this anxiety in our gut, or this heavy burden of stress where we feel like we're unsafe.
Hmm.
But as we remind ourselves that we actually are physically safe, and you might even say emotionally safe,
Absolutely.
it can reduce those negative emotions and help us feel more at peace.
Hmm.
So, you started a practice called Wounded Healer. I know what a wounded healer is, but just for the sake of my listeners who might not know, can you explain what that concept is?
Well, the wounded healers, this concept started in very ancient times. Actually, there is this story of, I think it was, and I'm paraphrasing here. I think it was in Greek mythology, about this warrior that he was wounded by an arrow, and he became a healer. So he was most likely the beginning of a wounded healer. Us wounded healers, we take all of these experiences that has broken us, that has scarred us, and take it as lessons to help others improve, basically improve their quality of life through our journeys, helping them with our stories, being there for them, embracing their situation, because we can be so similar in so many ways because we've been so wounded before. And I'm definitely, all of the times that I've been wounded in this life, I take it with everything I am to help others. That
Mm.
is for sure. And because where I was in life, I was wounded, and I was lonely, and I was alone, and I was isolated, versus still being wounded but becoming a healer. I'm a licensed massage therapist for 20 years. I'm a canine massage therapist. I'm a life coach. I'm a fitness instructor. I help others improve their quality of life no matter what age we are. And wounded healers, we're all about that.
I think there's something to be said about being a wounded healer because we're coming from a place of compassion and
Absolutely.
wisdom, where there are healthcare practitioners who, frankly, they don't have that experience. They don't have that
Hmm.
experience of suffering in a similar way to their patients. And
Right.
so I think many of them are well intentioned, they're trying their best, but they're just not doing the best job. I'm a
Hmm.
licensed psychotherapist, and I would say that most therapists are actually wounded healers. We're coming from our
Hmm.
own place of suffering
Hmm.
because quite frankly, it's not a very highly paid profession, and so nobody's going to go into it unless we have some experience with that suffering and that desire to help other people through their suffering, because we're definitely not doing it for the money.
Very true. Very true. I cannot agree with you more. I'm definitely not doing it for the money because no, I'm not a high paid practitioner. I mean, I wear many hats, and all of my hats that I wear, they're not high pay. Is something that it comes from the deepest of my heart. It comes from the deepest of my soul. It comes from a place, just like you said, of compassion and saying to all of these people, I feel you. I get you. I understand where you're coming from more than you think I do. And definitely that place of compassion makes all the difference in the world of what we do. Because definitely
Hmm.
when it comes only about money, and I have met both sides of the story. I have worked for wellness centers that are very abundant financially, but it becomes like a money making machine. The
Hmm.
essence of the purpose is gone. It gets lost somewhere, and then it becomes something that is for a universal, a one size fits all kind of situation, when it's just, and it's not. It has never been about that. Wounded healers, we are not a one size fit all kind of helpers. We help one person at a time with one situation at a time, and we definitely cater to the needs of whoever comes our way. it's,
Hmm.
it's not it's not like, oh, I recommended this to 20 other patients and it will work on you because it worked on them. No, it's really not about that. Everybody is different, and it's meant to be respected and definitely embraced in this process.
And unfortunately, we live in a society where the cost of living is high, the cost of goods
Hmm.
are high, and I can see how some practitioners would do it for the money just because they have bills to pay.
Right.
And it's a very difficult balance to achieve, where it's like I have to support myself and my family if I have a family, but then at the same time, I need to support my patients
Hmm.
because I'm trying to make a difference in their lives. I'm not just trying to make money.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that, Blanca?
Well, I can tell you this, and I was talking to someone just today about when it comes to paying my bills and taking care of the patients. I think I am one of the most affordable massage therapists in all my area here in South Florida. I have, out of curiosity, I was like, well, let me see how much this person charges for a massage, for a life coaching session, whatever the case may be. And like, wow, okay. I am one of the most affordable practitioners in the area because, in my experience, it really isn't about the money. People will come, the bills will get paid. I am, and to me, the most important thing is not money, because if I mentalize myself into that, I will lose touch with myself, and I will lose touch with what my purpose in this life is. My husband says that as long as I have a mind and a voice, I will never stop working. I will never stop delivering a message. And that is what it's all about.
Mhm.
I do many things for absolutely, I don't get paid for absolutely anything. I'm a book author, and most of the time, what do? I give away the book. I give away my chapter because it can help someone who likes reading a good book about 29 different co authors going through many things in life and coming back on the other side, or or getting out of that rabbit hole. Then, if I make a mindset of, no, they have to pay me and I have to get paid for absolutely every single movement that I do, then my purpose is kind of gone there.
Mhm.
And I have never been about that. I've been doing massage therapy for 20 years, and I always was the most affordable one in town. And I'm very proud of it. The patients always come, the clients will come, word of mouth is there. I am based on recommendation, I mean, most of the time, because I don't really do any ads or anything announcing my services. So I'm very grateful about
Mhm.
that the essence of wounded healer is not gone because I got to pay my bills. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, as long as your bills are paid for, it makes it a little bit easier. I wish we could reform society so that we're not so focused on money, but
So true.
maybe someday, who knows?
Right.
It'd be nice to just focus on the work that we're passionate about and not worry too much about the return.
Very true. Very true.
Now, earlier you mentioned how you feel like mental illness in many ways is preventable. What did you mean by that?
I am a big fan of this inspirational speaker. He is from way back in the day. His name was Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn used to say, change your mindset, change your life. And there's many powerful speakers that they say the same phrase to this day, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Anthony Robbins, and so many others. And I believe, there is, of course, in mental illness, there can be a chemical imbalance. I understand that that is the medical aspect. And no, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not a doctor for any means, but I have the university of life when it comes to many mental illnesses. And me growing up, my entire lifetime, I've been around some kind of mental illness, either with a direct family member or with many people that I put on my table in my massage therapy career. I'm a medical massage therapist, so I'm in wellness centers. I'm in medical doctors' offices. So it's not, I don't do the spa business for anything. And what I have find is that when, for example, people with stress and anxiety, okay, stress starts with a thought, and the thought dominates our minds. And when we are stressed mentally and emotionally, it'll directly affect our bodies in the form of clouding our mindset, headaches, stomach aches, migraines, neck issues, gastrointestinal issues, even. And in severe cases, it can become a cardiac arrest or even a stroke. This is what stress, how a thought of stress can translate into something really, really bad here. So, in with the many tens of thousands of patients that I have had in my career, it is proven that with one session of massage therapy, the levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, the level of cortisol will go down by 30% with one session of massage therapy alone. And the levels of the happy chemicals of our body, serotonin and endorphins, will go up by over 35% with one session of massage. I
Mm.
have had people coming in, I have had people that are war veterans, a lot of people with PTSD, anxiety, post cancer patients, people that have been mutilated, many cases. And I used to work in centers for drug addiction and alcohol abuse as well. And most of the time, most of these patients, especially in the centers for drug addiction, the root of their problem is untreated childhood trauma. They come from a place of trauma. They come from a place of abuse, abandonment, neglect, being left to their own devices and not seeking the help that they so very much needed and deserve. And of course, with these severe cases that I have encountered in my career, things do get out of hand. And how do many of us humans numb the pain by the use of alcohol and or drugs, which can obviously takes people in a downhill spiral, and they just don't know how to get out of it. The good news is that with holistic help, whether it is, of course, the help of psychotherapists specialized in their field, meditation, prayer, yoga, physical activity can be a healer in so many aspects of our lives. Yoga, massage therapy, chiropractic care. By my well, I used to work for a practice that when we did go to these centers, it was a holistic approach to the patient's recovery. And the patients, I could tell you this. 95% of the patients that I had in a 3 year period, and I had over 3,000 of them a year, they will all say that the best that they have always felt was with a yoga class, meditation, chiropractic care, and massage therapy. They have always put in the last of the list the medication that they receive. Actually, it's like, oh, those
Mhm.
medications do nothing for me. This makes me feel better. So there is so many options. It's about, here we go again, picking up those tools, giving this very important information to these patients, and help them navigate through their needs, whatever works for them. And I really hope that this helps somebody out there, because there is options to make ourselves better physically, emotionally, and mentally.
It's funny, I was just telling my wife the other day, I don't think I've ever heard a success story from somebody about medication.
That's so
It
true.
I've heard so many success stories about holistic health practices
Absolutely.
in various forms,
Hmm.
but never has anybody said, not on a podcast or YouTube video or even just someone I've spoken to in person, not ever has anyone said, "This medication changed my life. I am healed."
Oh my God, that is so true. I've been doing this for so long, and I have never ever heard anybody either. I have taken care of tens, I lost count of years ago, tens of thousands of patients with every single situation you can and you cannot imagine, from post lipo all the way to cancer patients, all the way to war veterans, all the way to recovering addicts. I have never heard in my entire career nobody saying, "Oh, this pill really was a miracle in my life." Never, never. It always has always been the holistic approach to their recovery that they really feel impacted and they really feel the good effects of it.
Ironically, pharmaceutical medicine seems to be still very popular, very mainstream,
Hmm.
and touted as being the authority on medicine.
Yeah.
But statistically speaking, it's actually not even the most common medicine in the world. We've got traditional Chinese medicine as the most
Hmm.
common, followed by homeopathy.
Yeah.
And Western or conventional medicine is actually a distant third from homeopathy. And so, in terms of popularity, it's not even number one, but for some reason in America, we seem to think of it that way. You mentioned how mental illness is a chemical imbalance, and I don't disagree with you. Um, but I want to point out that I think in many cases, we're not necessarily born with that chemical imbalance.
Right.
A lot of it has to do with the childhood trauma that you mentioned. And
Hmm.
in psychotherapy, we might call that ACEs or adverse childhood experiences
Hmm.
where, for example, it might be instances of abuse, or your parents were divorced, or just various things that happened in your childhood that can impact your emotional health forever,
Absolutely.
eventually.
Hmm.
But that is the common theme I'm seeing among most people who are struggling, even as adults, who are
Hmm.
struggling with mental illness. So you mentioned physical activity, chiropractic care, massage therapy, yoga. These are all physical things. And I have to agree with you on that because it's like I don't do massage therapy. I'm not a chiropractor, but I am a yoga teacher.
Oh, I
And
love that.
and
Hmm.
so I do totally understand how we tend to store negative emotions in our bodies, probably positive emotions too. But as we move our bodies, we stretch our muscles, we breathe through that trauma, it actually helps to release those emotions in a physical sense.
Hmm.
There is an author. named Eckhart Tolle. He wrote the book The Power of Now. I think he wrote a few other very popular books.
Yep.
And he said emotions are physical manifestations of our thoughts.
Wow, that's powerful.
So, how do we change our thoughts? That can be a very difficult thing depending on the brain chemistry that we have. Like I said, I think in many cases we're not necessarily born with it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's about epigenetics, our lifestyle, the way we're
Mm-hmm.
eating. But our thoughts can change our brain chemistry too. I
Yes.
mentioned mindfulness earlier. Do you practice mindfulness or teach mindfulness too?
Absolutely. I practice mindfulness. I'm a student, an eternal student of mindfulness. And it has helped me through my journey of healing myself. And no, I have gone through a lot of support in my journey to healing. I have gone to counseling. But the thing that has helped me the most has been, of course, physical activity, yoga, meditation, practicing mindfulness, breathing techniques. To me, I mean, in when I am in a situation like these centers for alcohol abuse and addiction, the addiction centers, that is total turmoil around us. It's like a being going through a door and going into a hurricane. And the one thing that always kept me centered for over 3 years of my life was practicing mindfulness, meditation, listening to music, putting good music to the patients, and my breathing techniques. Breathing has been the most, in my experience, one of the most powerful tools to keep myself calm and centered in my entire career. And we are beings of vibration. We are emotional beings. We are beings of touch. Touch is the second sensation that us infants feel right after crying. It is a sense that we will never let go of. And I'm in direct contact with all of these patients. So what they feel, if I am not protecting myself, I may get down that rabbit hole with them. And it doesn't serve anybody, starting with myself. So definitely practicing mindfulness has been a powerful tool, not only for my healing journey, but on a daily basis. I practice mindfulness. I practice being in the present. Even when I'm eating something, it's like, let me just focus on what I'm eating, the texture of the food, how the different flavors are, how my palate is embracing the different flavors. And of course, meditation and prayer. I do meditation every single day. I do meditation first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening. There's a lot of guided meditations everywhere for whatever it is that you desire and need. There's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is that you choose. This is why I say that it's like the tools are there, just reach out and grab them, because it's worth it. It's good for your quality of life, it's good for improving, it's good for recommending to someone, oh, what do you recommend? And it's like, well, I don't recommend anything, but this is what works for me. And definitely practicing mindfulness is a powerful tool to keep it all together, to deal with difficult situations, not only as a professional, but in my personal life as well.
Hmm. Yeah, mindfulness is really accessible right now. I actually I heard about mindfulness in a blog, like maybe 15 years ago.
Wow.
But back then, I couldn't find any instruction on how to practice mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a blog article about how to naturally overcome depression or anxiety or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I learn this? Finally,
Mm-hmm.
fast forward to maybe it was like 2017 or 16,
Yeah.
you started seeing apps available. And I think maybe Headspace was available a little bit before that. But
Mm-hmm.
I found an app called Smiling Mind, which I love. And I recommend that to pretty much everyone because it's free. It's a lot like
Oh, I love
Headspace or
that.
Calm, but it's a nonprofit organization. And because it's a nonprofit, they offer it for free to everyone.
Oh, I love that. I'm writing it down myself right now because I love practicing
Mhm.
mindfulness. Love it. Love it. It's been a big blessing in my life.
Yeah, and they did redo their app last summer. It's a little bit less intuitive, in my opinion, now, but
Yeah.
they still have great content. They're always adding new things. It
Mm.
always, I think originally it started out as a children's program
Oh
because
my
they
God.
do
That's,
have meditations available for like a classroom setting for children.
oh, that's wonderful. Mm,
So
so
they have
needed.
meditations for all ages at this point, from 2-year-olds to 80-year-olds.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. I'll definitely look into it. Thank you for that.
Do you have a favorite app that you have been using, or like a YouTube channel?
I've been using Calm a lot. That is one of my favorites. Of course, it comes with a cost, but it's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
I do many different meditations. I go to many YouTube channels. I use Dr. Joe Dispenza this meditations too. It depends on what my needs are. I will just start looking. I will ask, very important in my experience, to be very specific of what kind of meditation and for what do you want it, how much time do you want to do your meditation, because a lot of people are so we live in such a fast paced world that a lot of people think that more than 5 minute meditation is way too much, and no, it's like the more in the meditative state you are, the better it is for your body, the more of prolonged health you will have, the more in a calm state where you will have, the more of a great day you will have, the more clarity of mind you will have. And definitely meditation is one of those things that is like, I don't have any certain favorite, but I always go back to calm. Definitely. But I'll definitely look into
Mhm.
smiling mind. I'm very excited about that one.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Calm or Headspace or some of those other options. In
Hmm.
fact, if some people come to me and they're like, I'm already using Calm, or I already have a Headspace subscription,"
Hmm.
I don't have them change. I think
Yeah.
they're great. If they're already paying for that subscription, might as well use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing, just like you said, if you're already paying for any subscription, please use it, because then it will bring frustration. It's like, oh, I'm paying all this money and I'm not even using it. What the heck I'm doing with this? So yeah, but
Yeah.
Smiling Mind is an excellent idea. Definitely I'll use it. And if I can get out of paying for another subscription, I'll happily do so. I'm not really limited into this is my only preference. I'm really open. I'm really open to many options. When I want to, I'm bilingual. I'm English and Spanish. So when I want to hear a nice guided meditation in Spanish, I'll just look for one in Spanish. Yep.
There are a lot of YouTube channels too, a lot of free resources out there
Hmm.
that are just
Absolutely.
great. And for Lord of the Rings fans, I'm not particularly a Lord of the Rings fan, but there is a YouTube channel called The Honest Guys, and they've got some guided meditations that are Lord of the Rings themed.
Oh, that's lovely. I
So
think that's wonderful.
I've done it a couple times, and they're actually quite enjoyable. They have like little sound effects
Oh,
in the background and things like that. I wouldn't technically call it mindfulness, but it is a
yeah.
guide. It is still a meditation, but a guided meditation.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, that's
So
an excellent
it can
option.
be fun to a fun way to challenge the imagination a little bit and
Oh, absolutely.
visualize those kinds of things.
Hmm. Absolutely. Wonderful.
Um, Do you do any like craniosacral therapy or any sort of specialized forms of massage therapy?
Yes, I don't do cranial sacral, but I do myofascial release. I do bamboo, hot stone, cold stone, lymphatic drainage, prenatal massage, deep tissue massage, sports massage, Swedish massage.
Oh, a lot.
I yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I do, of course, medical massage therapy. I do reflexology as well. So yeah, and I always integrate whatever of my practices, whatever of the craft that I know, into the needs as to into the specific needs of each individual. For example, today I was massaging this woman that she had both of her breasts were removed. She had a very aggressive form of breast cancer. She has a lot of scar tissue around lymph nodes that were taken out as well. So it wasn't only a lymphatic drainage massage, it was myofascial release to break down scar tissue. So it's very tailored to individual needs. And then at the same time, I wanted her to be in a calm state because her body was so invaded by so much, not only the chemo, the radiation, but getting both breasts removed, going through that state of mind that she didn't know where her life was going or not going. And she's very happy with her services, and she is very thankful that yes, she feels the effect of breaking down the scar tissue, which is painful, but then at the end I make sure to apply some warm stones of her back so she can go into a more calmer state at the end, because it can be a pretty tough massage. But she understands what she's going through. But then she says that her favorite part, and she's very thankful for, is that at the last 15 minutes of her service, she knows that it's going to be all about, okay, I can breathe now, the worst pass. I'm gonna get some warm stones applied to my body, so it's a really good thing. And I'm so happy that I can help people in tailoring what it is towards their needs. There's many
Mm.
massage therapists that they charge extra for a towel, for hot stones. If it's going to be with bamboo sticks, it's going to be 15 more or 10 more or 5 more. It's like, no, I have a flat rate for everything. That's why I'm so affordable and people are so happy.
That's the perfect segue. Kind of going back to the meditation. Actually, you mentioned the importance of having that rest afterward, because it's a tough process
Yeah.
to go through the, you said, breaking up the scar tissue, things like
Hmm.
that. And it reminds me of in yoga how for some reason in American yoga we tend to frame it as a form of exercise, and we just skip through the shavasana, or like maybe we do one but it's a really short one, like maybe
Yeah.
20 seconds or something. I was taught in India, so I was taught more of a traditional yoga.
Hmm.
That is the most important part of the practice.
Imagine
The
that.
shavasana, that meditative part,
Hmm.
that recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, very important. I took a yoga class today with one of the owners of the place where I work at, and she is really into at least 10 minutes of Shavasana. And then she does a guided meditation while we are in Shavasana. So it's very powerful what she does. I love her classes. And it's not a full classroom of people, 20, 30 people. It's only just four of us and the teacher, which is a very intimate
Mm.
setting. It's very powerful. I absolutely love it. Yeah, very grateful that I can do that every Wednesday morning.
I've even taught classes where I did a 20-minute shavasana.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. That's
And
awesome.
people tend to appreciate it. Of course, people are coming for the asanas as well. They
Hmm.
want that physical practice, the stretching, the building the core strength. But again, that shavasana is the most important part. And it
Hmm.
sounds like that's an important part of your massage therapy as well.
Yes, very, very important. I'm a true believer that the last 10 minutes should be something of a more meditative state, practicing mindfulness and going into that calmer space after, like this person, that she is post breast cancer and the work has to be done. But then that last 15 minutes of the massage is entirely for her to go in a calm state,
Hmm.
and the pressure is light pressure, is warm stones being applied to her back, her neck, doing some good a good massage, a good gentle massage on her head, on her scalp, that really takes her to a very calm state, and she comes out of that room every single time totally renewed, and I'm grateful that she feels that way.
So, what made you want to become a massage therapist?
I always been a helper. I always been a touchy feely person. My mother said that I will be everybody's, like, I will be glued to people, always hugging and touching. And my mother always told me, "Oh, you are a helper. You are a helper. You're meant to do something that has to do with helping people." I had the best intentions to be a physical therapist, but then I saw massage therapy. I didn't have to go 8 years to college to be a massage therapist. I went only, I don't know, a year and a half. And of course, I got certified. I did my board exam and everything. But this is a practice that I never stop learning. And in my experience, as long as I am in student mode, I can go with this profession for the rest of my life and I will never stop learning. It's the same exact thing with group fitness instruction and dancing. I was a professional dancer for many, many years. I never stopped being a student, even though I was a teacher, I was a choreographer, I did many things on a professional aspect, but I never stopped being in student mode. And to me, that is vital
Hmm.
for my profession, to be always learning something new. So that is the biggest inspiration of me being a massage therapy and a group fitness instructor too.
I would say continuing education is vital for any
Oh
helping
yeah,
professional.
absolutely.
And I was thinking too, I mean, I've got a few university degrees, but the most valuable training I've ever gotten has not been a university degree. It's actually been the shorter certifications, but
Imagine
I
that.
think for some reason people think that shorter is easier. It's not necessarily easier.
Not at all.
Like my yoga teacher training, for example, it was like 33 days or something in
Hmm.
India. That was one of the most difficult trainings I've ever been through.
That sounds extremely intense, Cody. That
It
33 days is
was.
a lot.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we did asanas for an hour and a half every day, meditation for an hour and a half every day. Of course, we had classes too, and we practiced teaching to each other. And
Wow.
we took Sundays off, which was awesome.
Hmm.
So we didn't do any of that on Sundays, but we still had like group activities. We would visit Hindu temples and things like that.
Wow.
But it was a very intense program.
Oh, I'm
So
sure. I'm sure.
mentally, emotionally, and physically
Hmm.
laboring.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah, every
But
every
then,
every single class that I have done for continuing education is always very intense. It's always. I mean, I'm tired at the end of it. We learn a lot and we take a lot with us, but it's always exhausting. But that's, to me, that's one of the most fascinating parts of being practitioners, is that the learning experience never stops. It doesn't matter how experienced we are. I'm into year 21 of being a massage therapist, and I can tell you this: oh, I got so much more to learn, and I'm very happy about it. To openly say, is like, no, I don't know everything that there is to know about massage therapy. There's over 80 different types of massages. It's like, I don't think in my lifetime I would not learn 80 different massages and had that power of retention. But the more I learn, the more I can apply to my practice, to my patients, to my clients. And definitely that is the most important part of being a massage therapist, is to help others, because we are helpers.
hmm, we are blessed with the technology of the internet, and I feel like this is such a great opportunity to seek out that training, certifications, continuing education.
Hmm.
And yeah, there are some pretty bad ones out there. but
Yes.
but then there are also some very high quality, top-notch type trainings that you can get online.
Absolutely.
And so, for my listeners, I mean, if you are thinking about going to a university, you might not even have to go to a university to do what you want to do, especially
Hmm.
nowadays with all of the options out there.
Yeah.
Like my nutrition training, for example, it's not a university degree, but it was another very rigorous program, very
Hmm.
high quality. I'm so glad that I did it.
Oh,
And there
good.
are so many other trainings out there. You just have to do your research.
Hmm.
And in many cases, you have to be willing to spend at least a couple $1,000s to get a good one.
Yeah.
But there are so many options
Yeah.
for that education.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's is such a great investment for us. I don't see it as an expense. I never have seen anything that I do in on behalf of learning something new. To me, it has always been an investment. It's totally worth it. Yeah.
So as we come up on the end of our time here, Blanca, what do you think one thing is that people could change about the way they approach health and wellness? Like if they were to make one change, what would it be?
my experience and what I highly recommend to whoever wants to make a change in their mental or physical health is, first and foremost, don't compare yourself to anybody's experience, because your experience is your own, not to be compared to anybody else's. Go to the most reliable sources of information. In my experience, word of mouth really does work wonders, but definitely always look for the most reliable sources of information, for the people that can make an impact on you learning to navigate through whatever changes you're going in your life. Be open that change is a constant and that we are all capable of changing in the best possible ways. But definitely not comparing yourself to others is so important in your journey to healing and going through the next level of your life. Definitely, no matter what age you are. In my experience, I started my real healing journey after my 40s, and it was not meant to be in my 20s. It was meant to be when it happened. And I am grateful that I am here with you today having this very important conversation, because otherwise I would have stayed where I was in that slippery slope of not going anywhere, when life is about progress, not perfection. So any
Yes.
progress you do is for yourself, not for everybody. Please keep that in mind.
I am running a nutrition group right now. It goes for 5 weeks. And that's one of the things we teach. Practice makes progress, not perfect. But then also touching back on what you said about self-acceptance.
Hmm.
These are just pearls of wisdom here. If we can practice that self-acceptance,
Hmm.
we are going to be so much happier with our lives, even if we live in poverty.
Absolutely. Oh my
Even
God.
if we have
Yes.
poor health, even if we are in certain circumstances that aren't necessarily ideal, that self-acceptance is so important
Hmm.
for life satisfaction.
Absolutely.
One other question for you, Blanca. If people wanted to work with you, how can they find you?
Yes, absolutely. My website is www.woundedhealer.us. All of my information is there. My phone number, call me, text me, email me. I'm in all social media platforms as well as woundedhealer.blanca. I'm in Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, you name it, I'm there.
And do you do any remote work, or is this all in
Yes, I
person?
do. Yes, I do. Definitely. I
Okay.
do remote work for my life coaching. And yes, that's the
Okay.
most important
Glad I
part.
clarified that for my listeners so they can go to
Yeah.
your website and
Hmm.
potentially work remotely if they're not in
Oh,
Florida.
absolutely. I'm here to help. It will be my
Okay. Well,
honor.
thank you so much for joining me, Blanca.
Thank you so much for having me, Cody. What a great conversation we had. I'm very honored to be here.
If you've been listening to my podcast or listening to other podcasts, reading books about nutrition and how important it is for mental and physical health, but you are a little bit confused or feeling like you don't quite know how to get started with eating a whole food diet for better health, you might be interested in my small group nutrition program. This goes for 5 weeks, it's offered online, and it's available to everyone. For more information, go to beavercreekwellness.com/restart. As of right now, I have a start date coming up for April 22nd and another one on May 24th. So go to beavercreekwellness.com/restart to learn more and to register. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review. That really helps me out. And also subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. Real Food Mental Health is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. The information presented on this podcast is not intended to replace any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While I am a healthcare provider, I am not your provider. Always seek the advice of an appropriate healthcare practitioner with any personal questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on information provided by this podcast is at your own risk.